The metal floor was cold under her knees. Hana could feel it through her thin prison clothes. Around her, bright lights made everything look white and clean. Too clean for what was about to happen. She was 19 years old. In 3 minutes, she would be dead. The Valon guards stood around her in a circle. They were tall, almost 7 feet, with gray skin and eyes like black glass. They had ruled the galaxy for 3,000 years. They had destroyed planets. They had enslaved hundreds of worlds. And today they wanted everyone to watch them kill one human girl. Cameras floated in the air around her. 17 billion people across 847 star systems were watching right now. That was the point. The Valon wanted everyone to see what happened when you fought back. Emperor Krath had ordered this himself. He sat on his throne world millions of miles away, watching through his own screens. He wanted to see the fear in her eyes. He wanted humans everywhere to feel small and helpless. But Hana was not afraid. Not anymore. She had been afraid 3 weeks ago when they caught her. She had been afraid during the interrogations when they hurt her and demanded names. She had been afraid every day in her cell, knowing what was coming. Now she just felt ready. A Valon officer stepped forward. His name was Vosk, and he commanded all the Valon military forces around Earth. He looked at her the way someone might look at an insect. "You destroyed our supply depot," he said. His voice was cold and flat. "You killed 16 Valon soldiers. You will tell us who helped you." Hana said nothing. She had said nothing for 3 weeks. They could kill her, but they could not make her talk. "Speak," Vosk demanded. "Tell us the names. We will make your death quick if you cooperate." Still, Hana stayed silent. She looked past him at the cameras, at the billions of eyes watching, at her brother Minho, who she knew was watching from Earth, at Jiwon hiding with the fleet. At every human who had worked and planned and prepared for this exact moment, she smiled. Vosk made an angry sound. He nodded to the guards. They pulled Hana to her feet and pushed her toward the execution platform. It was a simple thing. Just a raised square of metal with restraints. Nothing special. The Valon did not believe in making executions complicated. As they strapped her in, Hana thought about her brother. Minho was 5 years older than her. He had raised her after their parents died in the Valong raids. He had taught her to be strong. He had also taught her that sometimes being strong meant making hard choices. 3 months ago, they had sat together in a hidden room deep under New Seoul. Maps and plans covered the walls. Minho had looked at her with sad eyes. "We need someone for this mission," he had said. "Someone the Valon will catch. Someone they will execute publicly. Someone to be the signal," Hana had replied. She understood immediately. She also understood what it meant. "I will do it," she had said. "Hana, no. Let me find someone else. Anyone else, it has to be me. You know why." And she had been right. The Valon needed to believe this was just another small rebel attack. If Minho got caught, they would suspect something bigger. But if his little sister got caught, that was just a tragedy. Just another human who fought back and lost. Minho had cried that night. Hana had not. She had made her choice, and she would not waste time regretting it. Now, strapped to the execution platform with cameras watching, she thought about all the people across the galaxy who were also watching. People on Earth, people on the mining colonies, people on worlds whose names she could not even pronounce. All of them were waiting. They were waiting for this moment, for her death. Because that was the signal. Vosk stepped in front of the cameras. He read out her crimes in that cold voice. Terrorism, murder, destruction of imperial property, the same words they had used for thousands of other rebels over the centuries. "Does the prisoner have any final words?" he asked. The cameras zoomed in on her face. 17 billion people leaned forward. Even Emperor Krath, sitting on his throne world, watched closely. He wanted to see her beg. He wanted to see her break. Hana looked directly into the nearest camera. She spoke clearly, making sure every word could be heard across the galaxy. "You think we are alone," she said. "You think we are weak. You have no idea what you have awakened. My death changes nothing. You should have left Earth alone," Vosk laughed. It was a cruel sound. Emperor Krath, watching from far away, also laughed. They thought she was just being dramatic. They thought this was pointless defiance from a girl who knew she was about to die. They were wrong. Vosk raised his hand. The execution device powered up with a low hum. Energy crackled in the air. Hana took one last breath. She thought of her brother. She thought of Earth. She thought of freedom. The time was exactly 14:03 Galactic Standard Time. Vosk dropped his hand. The device fired. Hana died instantly, without pain. The cameras recorded everything. 17 billion people watched a 19-year-old girl die for fighting against slavery. Vosk turned off the device. He looked satisfied. Emperor Krath, far away, smiled. Another rebel dead. Another example made. The humans would learn. They always did. The broadcast continued for another minute. The Valon wanted to make sure everyone saw the body. Then finally they cut the feed. Across the galaxy, screens went dark. People sat in silence. Some cried. Some felt rage. Some felt hopeless. But on Earth, in a hidden command center deep underground, Minho stood in front of dozens of screens. His face was wet with tears, but his voice was steady. Signal confirmed, he said. Time of death 14:03 GST. All units begin countdown. Operation Freedom starts in 14 minutes. Around him, people moved quickly to their stations. Encrypted messages shot out across the solar system. Hidden ships powered up their engines. Weapon systems came online. Soldiers checked their gear one last time. And in orbit around Jupiter, inside the radiation belts where Valon sensors could not reach, Commander Jiwon sat in the captain's chair of her stealth ship. Behind her vessel, 199 other ships waited in perfect silence. She watched the timer count down on her screen. 14 minutes until they revealed themselves. 14 minutes until the Valon discovered that humans had been building a war fleet right under their noses for 30 years. Jiwon thought about Hana. She had met the girl once, 6 months ago. Hana had been brave and determined, even knowing what would happen. She had volunteered for this. No one had forced her. Your sacrifice will not be wasted, Jiwon whispered. Then louder to her crew, all ships prepare for combat. In 14 minutes we make them pay. The Valon Empire had just killed a human girl on live broadcast. They thought it would make humans afraid. They had no idea what they had just started. The clock ticked down. 13 minutes, 12 minutes, 11. The galaxy was about to change forever. Admiral Vosk felt good. The execution had gone perfectly. The human girl had died without making too much noise. The broadcast had reached every corner of the Empire. Fear was a useful tool, and today's demonstration would keep the humans quiet for years. He walked back to his command ship, thinking about his next report to Emperor Krath. Maybe he would get a promotion for this. Maybe command of an entire sector. The time was 14:14 GST. 11 minutes after the execution, his communication officer looked up from her station, confused. Sir, I am detecting unusual signals coming from Earth's moon. Vosk barely glanced at her. Probably just debris. The humans have left a lot of junk in orbit over the centuries. Sir, these are not natural readings. They are encrypted pulses, very powerful, broadcasting outward. Now Vosk paid attention. Show me. The display lit up with data. Signal after signal, shooting out from the moon in all directions. The encryption was unlike anything in the Valon database. It was too fast, too complex. What are they saying? Vosk demanded. Unknown, sir. We cannot break the code. Before Vosk could respond, another officer shouted from across the command deck. Admiral, contact. Multiple contacts. 200 ships decloaking in our vicinity. Vosk spun around. What, where? Everywhere, sir. They are surrounding us. The main screen changed. What had been empty space moments ago was now full of ships. Human ships, 200 of them, sleek and dark, appearing out of nowhere like ghosts becoming solid. Vosk felt ice in his blood. This was impossible. Humans did not have this kind of technology. They did not have stealth systems. They did not have a fleet, but the sensors did not lie. 200 warships, all human design, all very real, were now positioned around his 50 capital ships in perfect attack formation. Raise shields, Vosk screamed. All weapons online. Send a distress call to the Empire. His crew rushed to obey, but they were too slow. The human fleet had been ready. The Valon had not. Commander Jiwon sat in her captain's chair watching the Valon ship scramble. She had been waiting for this moment for 10 years. Every simulation, every drill, every sleepless night had prepared her for this. Target acquired, her weapons officer reported. All ships report ready. Jiwon thought about Hana. The girl had died so this moment could happen. so humans could finally strike back with real force, so the galaxy could see that Earth was not helpless. Fire, she said quietly. 200 ships fired as one. Railgun projectiles, accelerated to 10% the speed of light, crossed the distance in seconds. The Valon shields were designed to stop energy weapons like lasers and plasma. They were not designed for solid metal moving at relativistic speeds. The slugs punched through the shields like they were not even there. They hit the Valon ships and tore through armor, through decks, through engines and weapon systems. Some ships exploded immediately. Others simply broke apart, spilling air and bodies into space. Vosk watched in horror as his fleet died around him. 3 ships gone in the first volley, then 5 more, then 10. His own ship shook as a projectile grazed the hull. "Return fire," he ordered. The Valon ships tried. Their weapons were powerful, built over centuries of conquest. But the human ships moved like nothing Vosk had ever seen. They dodged and weaved, their movements coordinated perfectly. It was as if they were all controlled by one mind. They were. The human fleet used artificial intelligence networks. All ships linked together, sharing information instantly. Where one ship saw a threat, all ships knew about it. Where one ship found a weakness, all ships exploited it. The Valon had banned artificial intelligence centuries ago, calling it dangerous. Now they paid the price for that decision. Another volley from the human fleet. More Valon ships died. 20 now. 25. 30. Vosk's communication officer tried desperately to send messages to the Empire, but something was wrong. The signals were being blocked. The humans had jammers cutting off all long-range communication. "We are cut off, sir," she reported, her voice shaking with fear. Cut off, surrounded, outmatched. Vosk had fought in dozens of battles over his long career. He had conquered 3 star systems personally. He had never lost a fight. He was losing now. "Admiral, we must retreat." His first officer shouted. "Retreat where?" Vosk snapped back. "They are everywhere, and our engines are too slow." That was the other surprise. Human fusion drives were 40% faster than Valon propulsion. The humans could chase down any ship that tried to run. 35 Valon ships gone. 40. 45. The time was 14:17 GST, 14 minutes after the execution, 14 minutes since Hana had died. Vosk's ship took another hit. This time the engine section exploded. Alarms screamed. Fire suppression systems failed. The artificial gravity cut out and everyone floated free. Through the chaos, Vosk grabbed a communication panel. He had to warn the Empire. Had to tell them what happened here. He managed to record one short message before another explosion rocked the ship. They were ready, he gasped into the recorder. The humans were ready. It was all a trap. They have a fleet. They have technology. They are not primitive. They are not weak. They were. The final railgun slug hit Vosk's command ship dead center. The explosion was massive and bright. When it faded, there was nothing left but debris. Admiral Vosk was dead. His fleet was destroyed. 50 capital ships gone in 14 minutes. Not one human vessel damaged. Jiwan watched the last Valon ship break apart. Around her, the bridge crew cheered. Some cried with relief. Some just sat in stunned silence. "Victory," her tactical officer reported. "All enemy vessels destroyed. 0 friendly casualties." Jiwan nodded slowly. "Victory." "Yes." But it felt hollow without Hana here to see it. "Status of the moon base?" she asked. "Transmitter operating perfectly, Commander. All activation codes sent successfully. Resistance cells across 200 worlds confirm receipt." So it was working. The signals from the moon, the ones that had confused the Valon, were activation codes. Commands sent to every world where humans had built resistance networks over the past decades. Hana had spent 3 years traveling to different worlds, connecting with other enslaved species, building trust, sharing plans. She had told them all the same thing: wait for the signal. Her death was that signal. And now across the galaxy, 200 worlds were rising up at the same moment. "Open a channel," Jiwan ordered. "All frequencies. I want the whole Empire to hear this." Her communication officer worked quickly. "Channel open, Commander. You are broadcasting to all Valon networks." Jiwan took a deep breath. She thought about what to say. She thought about Hana and Minho and every human who had suffered under Valon rule. She thought about all the other species who had suffered too. "This is Commander Jiwan of the Human Defense Fleet," she said. To Emperor Krath and all Valon forces, your fleet at Earth is destroyed. You came to our world thinking we were weak. You executed a 19-year-old girl to frighten us. You were wrong about everything. We are not weak. We are not afraid. And we are not alone. This ends today, she cut the transmission. Around her, the crew was silent. Ma'am, her tactical officer said quietly. What are your orders? Jiwan looked at the screens showing Earth. Beautiful. Blue. Home. Set course for Valon Prime, she said. Maximum speed. It is time to end an empire. On the mining world of Kepler 442b, Sora watched the execution on a stolen screen. Tears ran down her face as Hana died. She knew this moment would come. She had met Hana 2 years ago, when the young woman had arrived on this miserable rock disguised as a mine worker. Hana had found Sora in the depths of Mine Shaft 7, working 18-hour shifts like all the other slaves. They had talked in whispers during breaks, sharing dreams of freedom. One day we will all be free, Hana had promised. But we have to be patient. We have to wait for the right moment. When will that moment come? Sora had asked. Hana had smiled sadly. You will know. Everyone will know. Trust me. Now Sora understood. Hana's death was the signal. The moment had arrived. Sora wiped her eyes and stood up. Around her, 200 other workers watched the same screen. Some were human. Others were Kelvar with their 4 arms and scaled skin. Some were Thrinn, small and quick with large eyes. All of them were slaves. All of them had suffered under Valon rule. It is time, Sora said quietly. Everyone nodded. They knew what to do. They had been preparing for months, smuggling weapons, mapping guard rotations, identifying weak points in the security systems. The Valon garrison on Kepler 442b numbered 500 soldiers. They thought they were safe. They thought the slaves were too tired, too broken to fight back. They were wrong. At exactly 1417 GST, Sora gave the signal. Workers across the entire mining complex moved as one. They pulled hidden weapons from secret storage places. They cut power to the security cameras. They locked the blast doors, trapping Valon soldiers in their barracks. The garrison commander woke up to alarms and chaos. He tried to call for help, but the communication array was already destroyed. He tried to mobilize his troops, but they were scattered and confused. By the time he realized what was happening, it was too late. The battle for Kepler 442b lasted 20 minutes. When it ended, every Valon soldier was either dead or captured. The slaves were free. Sora stood in the garrison commander's office, looking at the screens. Similar reports were coming in from everywhere. The communication network was in chaos, but she could piece together what was happening. Rebellions. Everywhere. All at once. On Proxima Station, human engineers had sabotaged the orbital defenses. On Tau Ceti 4, a mix of human and alien fighters had seized the spaceport. On Ross 128, resistance forces had destroyed the Valon supply depot. 200 worlds. All striking at the same moment. All coordinated perfectly. Emperor Krath watched from his throne room on Valon Prime, his 3 eyes wide with disbelief. Reports flooded in from across the Empire. Rebellions, lost garrisons, destroyed communication hubs, captured supply lines. How? He demanded. How is this possible? How did they coordinate? His military advisor trembled as he spoke. Emperor, we believe the human girl's execution was used as a timing signal. Every resistance cell across the Empire was watching. They all moved at the same moment, but that means... Krath stopped. The implications were terrible. That means they planned this. For years. The girl volunteered to die. This was always their plan. Yes, Emperor. Krath felt something he had not felt in centuries. Fear. Send the fleets, he ordered. Crush these rebellions. Show them what happens when they defy us. Emperor, our fleets are already moving, but... The advisor hesitated. But what? Our communication relays. Most of them were located on the worlds now in rebellion. Our forces cannot coordinate properly. Each fleet is operating blind without contact with others. Krath stood up from his throne. Fix it, use backup systems. The backup systems are also compromised, Emperor. Whoever planned this knew exactly where to strike. At that moment, every screen in the throne room lit up. A broadcast was coming through. Krath recognized the location immediately. It was Earth's moon, and the person speaking was human. Minho looked directly into the camera. His face was calm, but his eyes were full of fire. Behind him, Krath could see a military command center, full of humans working at stations. "Emperor Krath," Minho said. "My name is Minho. The girl you just executed was my sister. Her name was Hana, and she gave her life so that billions could be free." Krath wanted to turn off the screen, but he found he could not move. "You broadcast her death to intimidate us," Minho continued. "Instead, you showed the galaxy exactly what we are fighting for. Every world you have enslaved just watched you murder a teenager. They also just watched us win. Your fleet at Earth is gone. Your garrisons on 200 worlds are defeated or surrounded. Your communication network is in ruins." Minho leaned forward. "Your empire ends today, not because we are stronger than you, but because we refuse to give up. Because we built alliances while you built fear. Because we prepared while you grew arrogant. My sister knew she would die, but she also knew her death would mean freedom for billions. Can you say the same about your life, Emperor?" The broadcast ended. Krath stood in silence. Around him, his advisors looked at each other nervously. No one dared speak. Finally, Krath turned to his military advisor. "Status of our home fleet? 300 ships in orbit, Emperor. Our strongest vessels. Valen Prime is protected by the most powerful shields in the galaxy. We are safe here. Good, let them come. Let these humans come to Valen Prime. We will destroy them, and this rebellion will end." But even as he said it, Krath felt doubt. The humans had surprised him at every turn. They had hidden a fleet for decades. They had coordinated rebellions across 200 worlds. They had destroyed his finest admiral in minutes. What else had they prepared? In the Imperial Palace, deep in the computer systems, a program activated. It had been sitting dormant for 5 years, waiting for the right signal. That signal had just arrived. The program was written by a human named Taeyang. He had worked in the palace as a low-level technician for 5 years. Everyone thought he was harmless. Everyone thought he was just fixing computers. They were wrong. Taeyang was the most important person in the entire operation. While Hana built the resistance networks and Jiwan prepared the fleet, Taeyang had been doing something even more dangerous. He had been installing backdoors into every security system on Valen Prime, every shield generator, every automated defense, every communication relay, every door lock. All of them had a vulnerability that only Taeyang knew about. And now, with the signal received, his program began its work, quietly, carefully, waiting for the perfect moment. Taeyang himself sat in his small apartment in the Palace District. He looked at his watch. The time was 14:35 GST, 32 minutes since Hana's death. Soon, he thought, very soon now. He opened his communication device and sent a short message to Minho on Earth. Just 3 words. "System ready. Waiting." The response came back immediately. "Fleet en route." "Execute on my signal," Taeyang smiled. He thought about Hana, whom he had never met but whose sacrifice made all of this possible. He thought about his own family, killed in a Valen raid when he was 12 years old. He thought about every person who had suffered under the Empire. "For Hana," he whispered, "for all of us." Above Valen Prime, the orbital defense network hummed with power. 300 warships patrolled in perfect formation. Shields covered the entire planet like an invisible shell. The Emperor's forces felt confident. They had no idea what was coming. The human fleet, moving at maximum speed, was 12 minutes away. Commander Jiwan stood on the bridge of her flagship as it dropped out of faster-than-light travel. The view screen showed Valen Prime, the heart of the Empire, a beautiful blue and green planet surrounded by a massive defense fleet. 300 enemy ships detected, her tactical officer reported. Planetary shields at maximum power. All weapon systems online and targeting us, Jiwan nodded. This was expected. Valen Prime was the most defended world in the galaxy. Breaking through would be almost impossible. Almost. "Open a channel to Minho on Earth," she ordered. A moment later, Minho's face appeared on a side screen. He looked tired but determined. "We are in position," Jiwan reported. "Ready when you are," Minho nodded. "Taeyang confirms all systems are ready. Give the word and he will bring down their defenses." Jiwan looked at the enemy fleet on her screen. 300 ships, thousands of Valen soldiers. They had families. They had lives. They were following orders just like soldiers everywhere. But they also served an empire that had enslaved billions. An empire that had killed Hana. An empire that needed to end. "Do it," she said quietly. Minho spoke into his communication device. Taeyang, execute operation. Bring it down. On Valon Prime in his small apartment, Taeyang pressed a button on his computer. The program he had been building for 5 years activated fully. Code flowed through the Imperial network like poison in veins. In the Imperial Palace, the first sign of trouble came when the lights flickered. Then the shield's monitoring system showed red warnings. Then everything went dark. Emperor Krath jumped from his throne. What is happening? His technical advisor stared at her screen in horror. The shields are failing. All of them. The entire planetary network is shutting down. Impossible. Those systems have multiple backups. The backups are also failing, Emperor. Something is attacking the core systems from inside. Krath felt ice in his blood. From inside. That meant someone in the palace. Someone who had access to the most secure systems in the Empire. Find them. Find whoever is doing this! But it was too late. The damage was done. All across Valon Prime, shields flickered and died. The automated defense grid stopped responding to commands. Communication systems crashed. Even the blast doors in the Imperial Palace opened randomly, their locks compromised. Above the planet, the defense fleet fell into chaos. Their targeting systems showed wrong information. Their communication with the ground was cut off. Some ships found their weapons turning on their own allies. The fleet commander tried to regain control, but nothing worked. It was as if the ships themselves had turned against them. On Jiwan's bridge, the tactical officer gave a shocked report. Commander, their shields are down. All of them. And their fleet is in disarray. Jiwan allowed herself a small smile. Taeyang had done it. 5 years of patient work installing backdoors and vulnerabilities, all leading to this moment. Do not fire, she ordered. Hold position. Her weapons officer looked confused. Ma'am, we have a clear shot. We could end this right now. We could, Jiwan agreed. But that is not who we are. Open all channels. I want to speak to Emperor Krath directly. The communication officer worked quickly. Channel open, Commander. You are broadcasting to the Imperial Palace. Jiwan took a breath. Emperor Krath, this is Commander Jiwan of the Human Defense Fleet. Your shields are down. Your defenses are compromised. Your fleet cannot fight. We could destroy Valon Prime right now. We could do to you what you have done to countless others. In the throne room, Krath listened with growing rage and fear. But we will not, Jiwan continued, because that is not who we are. We fight for freedom, not conquest. We fight to protect, not to dominate. So I am giving you one chance. One opportunity to end this without more death. Surrender, she said. Order all your forces to stand down. Face trial for your crimes against sentient life. Let the galaxy heal. Do this and your people will live. Your world will be safe. You have 5 minutes to decide. The transmission ended. Silence filled the throne room. Krath's advisors looked at each other. No one spoke. What could they say? The Empire was defenseless. The humans could destroy them all with a single command. Emperor, his military advisor finally said, they are right. We cannot fight. If we refuse, they will destroy us. But if we surrender, at least our people survive, Krath wanted to scream. He wanted to order his forces to fight to the last soldier. He had ruled for 200 years. His empire had stood for 3,000, but it was over. In less than an hour, everything had fallen apart. All because of one human girl and the people who loved her enough to plan the impossible. He thought about that girl's last words. You should have left Earth alone. She had been right. Krath walked slowly to his communication console. His hand shook as he activated it. He looked at the camera, knowing the entire galaxy was watching. I am Emperor Krath, he said, his voice barely steady. I hereby order all Valon forces to cease hostilities. Stand down. Do not fire. We surrender. The words felt like poison in his mouth, but they were said. The Empire had fallen. The time was 1447 GST, 47 minutes after Hana's execution. 47 minutes from beginning to end. On Jiwan's bridge, the crew erupted in cheers. Some cried. Some hugged each other. They had won. Against impossible odds, they had actually won. Jiwan felt tears on her own face. She thought about Hana, who would never see this moment, who had died so this could happen. Send word to all resistance forces, she ordered. The Empire has surrendered. We have won. On Earth, Minho received the message. He closed his eyes and let himself cry. For his sister, for everyone they had lost, for the victory that felt both glorious and terrible. "We did it, Hana," he whispered. "You did it. Everyone is free now." On Valon Prime, Taeyang sat in his apartment watching the news broadcasts. The Empire had surrendered. His part of the mission was complete. He allowed himself a small smile. Security forces would come for him soon. He had no illusions about that. But it did not matter. He had succeeded. The galaxy was free. Across 847 star systems, people watched the announcement with disbelief, joy, and hope. An empire that had lasted 3,000 years was gone, ended in less than an hour by people who refused to accept slavery. On Kepler 442b, Sora stood with her fellow freed slaves, watching the sky. They were free. "Actually, truly free, thank you, Hana," she said quietly. "Thank you." And in the Imperial Palace, Emperor Krath sat alone in his throne room. His empire was gone. His power was ended. All that remained was to face judgment for the crimes he had committed. He thought about the girl he had ordered executed. Just one teenager. He had killed thousands like her over the years. What made her different? Then he understood. She was not different. Every person he had killed could have been like her. Brave, determined, willing to sacrifice everything for freedom. He had never seen them as people. He had seen them as numbers, as problems to solve, as insects to crush. That was his mistake. And now everyone would pay the price for it, including him. The galaxy held its breath, waiting to see what would happen next. 6 months had passed since the Empire fell. Minho stood in front of a huge crowd on Earth, speaking carefully into a microphone. Behind him, a white marble monument reached toward the sky. The monument was for Hana. Her statue stood at the center, but it did not show her dying. Instead, it showed her alive, smiling, looking toward the stars with hope in her eyes. "My sister was 19 years old," Minho said. His voice carried across the crowd and through cameras to billions watching across the galaxy. She knew what would happen when she destroyed that supply depot. She knew the Valon would catch her. She knew they would kill her. He paused, fighting back tears. She volunteered anyway, because she believed that freedom was worth any price, because she knew her death could save billions. She was braver than anyone I have ever known. The crowd was silent. Many were crying. They had all lost people to the Empire. They all understood sacrifice. "Today we remember her," Minho continued. "We remember what she did, and we promise to honor her sacrifice by building something better, a galaxy where no one is enslaved, where no one has to die to be free, where everyone has a chance to live in peace." He stepped back from the microphone. Commander Jiwon stepped forward next. She wore her military uniform, but she had refused all the medals and honors they tried to give her. "I met Hana once," Jiwon said, 6 months before she died. "She was so young, but she had such strength. She looked at me and said, 'When this is over, what will you do?' I did not understand the question then. But I do now." Jiwon looked at the crowd. She was asking, "When we win, who will we become? Will we be like the Empire? Will we use our victory to rule others? Or will we be better?" I believe she would want us to be better, and that is what we are trying to do. After the ceremony, Minho walked through the memorial gardens. They had been built around Hana's monument, filled with trees and flowers from different worlds. It was a peaceful place. He found Sora sitting on a bench looking at the statue. She had traveled from Kepler 442b to attend the ceremony. Her planet was free now, rebuilding after years of slavery. "She would be proud of you," Sora said as Minho sat beside her. "Of all of us. We kept our promise. Everyone is free." Minho nodded. "But the work is not done. Freedom is just the beginning. Now we have to build something that lasts." He was right. The past 6 months had been difficult. The Empire was gone, but that left a huge vacuum. 847 star systems needed new governments. Millions of former slaves needed help. Valen citizens needed to understand that their old way of life was over. The new government, called the Federation of Free Systems, met on Earth every month. Representatives came from every liberated world: humans, Kelvar, Thrin, dozens of other species, all working together to create something new. It was not easy. Different species had different needs. Arguments happened. Sometimes nothing got done for weeks, but that was okay. That was democracy. Messy and slow, but better than tyranny. Minho served on the council, but he refused any leadership position. Humans should not rule, he always said. We fought so everyone could be equal. That means no one species is in charge. The trials had been the hardest part. Emperor Krath and his advisors faced justice on Earth. They were given real trials with lawyers and evidence and the right to defend themselves. It took 3 months, but finally the verdicts came. Guilty, all of them. Guilty of genocide, slavery, and crimes against sentient life. The sentences were life imprisonment. Not death. The Federation had abolished capital punishment. We will not become what we fought against, Jiwan had said during the debate. We will not kill to prove killing is wrong. So Emperor Krath sat in a cell on Earth watching the galaxy rebuild itself through a small window. He would spend the rest of his life seeing everything he tried to prevent come true. Peace, cooperation, freedom. Sometimes Minho visited him. Not often, but sometimes. He wanted Krath to understand what had happened. Why it happened? You could have had peace, Minho told him during one visit, if you had just treated people with respect. If you had shared instead of taking. If you had led instead of ruled. But you chose fear. You chose cruelty. And that is why you lost. Krath said nothing. What could he say? Minho was right. Taeyang had been found and arrested by Valon security, but the Federation freed him immediately after the surrender. They offered him medals and honors, but he refused them all. I just did what needed to be done, he said, same as everyone else. He went back to being a technician, fixing computers on one of the outer colonies. He preferred quiet work, away from attention. Commander Jiwan also stepped down from military command. The Federation asked her to lead their defense forces, but she refused. I fought to end war, she said, not to prepare for the next one. Give the job to someone younger, someone who understands that weapons should be the last option, not the first. She became a teacher instead, training the next generation of ship commanders, but she taught them strategy through peace, not war, how to negotiate, how to prevent conflicts, how to find solutions that saved lives instead of taking them. 1 year after Hana's death, Minho stood at her memorial again. It was the anniversary. Thousands of people had come from dozens of different worlds. He placed flowers at the base of her statue, fresh flowers from Earth's soil. He spoke quietly, just for her. You did it, little sister. Everyone is free now. The Federation is working. People are rebuilding. There are still problems, still arguments, still challenges, but we are solving them together, without violence. He paused, looking at her statue's face. I miss you every day. I wish you could see this. I wish you could be here, but I understand why you made your choice, and I am proud of you, so proud. Behind him, children played in the memorial gardens. Human children, Kelvar children, Thrin children, all together, all friends. They spoke different languages, but they understood each other. They laughed in the same way. That was what Hana had died for. Not revenge, not victory, but this. Children playing together without fear, without slavery, without empire. Across the galaxy on 847 worlds, people looked at the stars differently now. They were not stars of fear, but stars of possibility. Each one could be visited. Each one could be a home. Each one could be free. The Valon Empire had lasted 3,000 years. It fell in 47 minutes because one girl was willing to die for freedom, and billions were willing to fight for it. History would remember her name. Hana. The girl who changed everything. The girl who proved that courage could defeat any empire. The girl who showed that sometimes the greatest act of war is choosing peace. Minho left the memorial as the sun set. He had work to do. The Federation needed him. The galaxy needed him. But first he let himself remember. Let himself feel the loss. Then he walked forward. Into the future his sister had given them all. The galaxy was healing. Slowly. Carefully. But healing. And in every corner of that galaxy, people told the story of Hana, how she died, what she accomplished, why it mattered. They told their children. Their children told their children. The story passed down through generations. Never forget, they said. Never forget what tyranny costs. Never forget what freedom is worth. Never forget the girl who paid the price so everyone else could be free. Her name was Hana. She was 19 years old, and she changed the galaxy forever.